Salutations, fellowship in Christ. According to the theory of theologian, relatedly to the riddle of life and death, it claims that at every birth, a newly created soul, fresh from God, enters into the arena of life. And for the shortest period of time into the physical world, it passes through the gates of death into the invisible beyond, and there to remain. And its happiness or misery for eternity, it is determined by its beliefs prior to death. So, fellow Christians, this analysis is being undertaken by me, not in the vain purpose of vulgarizing, nor to refute the validity of the theory, but rather to seek clarity whether theologians in Uganda are still relevant on the theory. So yesterday, during the state-controlled commemoration of Ugandan matters, Mr. Kazimba Mugalu came out and quoted the Bible from the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 35, saying that nothing should keep us from the love of Jesus. I found it so hypocritical because what Mr. Kazimba Mugalu does or practices, it does not voice the imminence of God in man's being, but rather the consolidation of a diabolical state-driven goals. Trying to weigh Mr. Kazimba Mugalu's claims and his assertion and his prioritizing of the state illegitimate as it stands currently, that it should work so hard to ensure its people. Now, let us create some kind of an analogy. Suppose there was a dog laying on the street, right? And three men emerge from a distant land walking towards the dog. Supposedly, Kazimba Mugalu, Semogerere Paulo, and Shaban Mubaje. They approached the dog, and three of them, it was crystal clear that the dog was in severe pain. Kazimba Mugalu, on his part, looks at the dog, feels sorry for it, but walks on or look at it with indifference. Semogerere look at the dog with this sense of humility, perhaps wanting to help. But he refrains because of the influence of his companion. Shaban Mubaje look at the dog being tormented by the pain. But since he could not find any interest of benefit, he passes on. Thus, the three men pass by the dog and goes on. These are the people who claims that Museveni must ensure, and actually, they are the controller of Uganda's inter-religious council. So brothers and sisters, can you differentiate those three men past the dog? Can you differentiate them to prioritize bidding the government to ensure its people, failing to hold the government to account for demolishing the properties that have been standing for the past 6 to 7 decades? Right? Isn't that hypocrisy? Tell me, if the mindset of this religious council in Uganda, it is working so hard and they're preparing for their happiness in the invisible beyond, are they really still relevant to the theory of theologians pertaining matters of leadership or the well-being of humanity? They have passed the dog, a street dog, with indifference, and they prioritize Mr. Museveni's goals, failing to understand that in his barren effort, Mr. Museveni, in his barren effort to cling on to power, Mr. Museveni was made to suckle on the breasts of a street dog, having been convinced by a witch doctor that by doing so, he will be able to control Kyagulanyi Ssentamu divine reality, the light that illuminates from him, that the light motivated the ghetto, and the ghetto is more impelled and compelled to seek and reclaim its dignity in the sense of political leadership. He was made to suckle on the street dog, but the priests passed the dog with indifference. Brothers and sisters, the Museveni, whose goals they drive so very much, he ran mad, according to the trustable information of ASP Asime. Having exhumed the remains of Paulo Kafelo, now he is fighting with the spirit of Paulo Kafelo, the spirit of Andrew Tankome Kaira, the spirit of Kamyankwanga, the spirit of Ignatius Musaz, the spirit of Paulo Mwanga, whom he sodomized when he took power. Indeed, Paulo Kazimba Mugalu, Semogerere, Shabani Mubajje, the spirit will never die. Never was a time it was not. Deathless and birthless, the spirit remains forever. Death has not touched it. Dead though seems its body, nay, but as one lays off a worn-out robe, taking another, says, "This shall I wear today." So put the spirit its new garment of flesh, and it passes on to inherit the residence afresh. Now tell me, what makes you think that Paulo Kafelo died? That Paulo Kafelo died. Indeed, you are all going down with Museveni. Indeed, you are all going down with Museveni. This time around, it is the awakened generation, Mr. Kazimba Mugalu. We are not returning backwards. This is the era of emancipation from the thraldom of woeful worship. Man is no longer content with the man-made creed. His heart cries out for freedom. He feels something stirring within his being, something akin to what he has been taught to look upon as a faraway of ruler of righteousness. Indeed, a supreme ruler of earth and sky, whose nature is divine, though at times vindictive, violently provoked, and furiously inclined. By the application of common sense, man has learned to discriminate between true knowledge and false teachings. He is no longer held in bondage by the voice of fear. He feels surer of himself on matters of deeper importance for the well-being of his complex being. And though his heart clash with the antiquated belief of priest and prince, pastors and dictators, his better judgment tells him not to worry what these self-styled wannabe rulers of men declare they will do to him if he dares to laugh and scorn their decalogues of conducts and rotting over-inflated tyrannical catechisms of obedience. These welcoming signs point to a further realization on man's part that what others have done in the past and are doing in the present, he too can do. If the great law of impartial justice still operates within the mathematical precisions for beasts and men, truly nothing is impossible of achievement, and no power is too sacred to be totally ignored for fear of incurring the ill will of the touch me not penitent. Thus it is that men reasons and speculate on possibilities and hidden potencies of his heretofore neglected better nature. He has learned to burn midnight oil for the express purpose for finding out for himself whether the promptings of the heart are of more valuable to him in the actual living of a life of peace than the unreasonable requests of greed. Kazimba Mugalu, we are not looking for wealth, but we are looking for justice, peace, and freedom, of which we are to attain because God is willing.